welcome back to the Ludiverse. I am Jay, the host. I have a guest with an interesting topic, and would you care to introduce yourself?
Yes, my name is Camille. I'm a French-Canadian artist, 26 years old, and I have a cosplay.
The cosplay in regards to like sexuality and everything is fairly recent in its main popularity. Yes.
I'd say so, but cosplay itself has been growing in the last few years, especially. And yeah, if we're putting it into wise, it definitely has grown in the last few years. It seems to be a big fad right now.
What do you think sets cosplay kink apart from just everyday standard cosplay?
Probably, well, adding the role play, I would say. It's probably the role play aspect that makes it sexual, because honestly, cosplay itself is not something that is inherently sexually. It's something that I think it's to realize fantasies. Everyone has maybe a fantasy of a certain fictional character in a movie or a TV show, and I think that's pretty much where it comes from.
That makes sense. So when you do your cosplay, like I imagine you probably just started in cosplay because you liked costuming. Yes.
Exactly.
So what was the trigger that changed it over to like sexualizing the costumes?
Well, recently I started making content, and it's something that's really popular right now. Probably what I get the most good feedback from is the cosplay. Everyone knows, a certain character from like Game of Thrones or something. But me as myself, maybe I can, I'm not famous or anything, so I can't get as many fans, let's say, so I can please more people with cosplay. But for myself, it's just the aesthetics, and like you said, it's costume. It starts so young, like it's Halloween all year round. It's just a way to celebrate fandom, really.
Cool. So my daughter does cosplay
Yeah.
stuff, so I have an idea of what the cost would go into, just a basic one. I imagine that there's quite a bit of expense in modifying a costume to meet the needs for the content you provide.
Oh, for sure. It has to be, wearable, or easy to take off. It has to be, some of these costumes are really like, I wouldn't know how to use the word, like difficult to put on or take off in any way. Just, you can't even go to the bathroom when you want necessarily in some of these costumes. So personally, I try to make them more comfortable because I like to be comfortable in my stuff. So I'll try to like modify the costume, try to follow the theme, the colors, and the personality that we're bringing to the costume. It's not necessarily always exactly spot on.
Well, as long as you get the character across and you're comfortable in the outfit, I don't think the attention to the fine details is really going to affect that much.
Exactly. And it's fun to modify certain characters, make them more, like I'll take certain characters from, I don't know, any Disney, princess or something, and I'll make her kind of like a punk rock, a version or something more, more slutty, to be honest. It's, and less childish and more adult, So that's where we sexualized, characters that weren't necessarily sexual in the first place.
Yeah, I imagine the Disney princesses would be a popular choice for content.
Oh, well, anything really. I'd say the biggest one is anime. Is obviously it's directly connected to cosplay, either through manga or hentai or anything really. If, Naruto characters are a really popular one. For me, it was the biggest one. Hinata from Naruto was my biggest one so far. I've got the
Yes.
best feedback from that. But like you said, are really expensive. So I try to, make them myself, or try to reuse as much of the stuff as I can.
Well, I mean, some of the bigger cosplayers, like let's see, Yaya Han, I imagine would have the money to be able to just make new costumes every time. But Yeah, man, reusing pieces for different costumes makes a lot of sense.
Oh yeah, because wigs and contact lenses are really expensive, and it's not for everybody either. It's not necessarily comfortable to wear. So try to, like I said, you follow the theme, the colors and stuff. Try to make it for you. Uh, that's what I do for myself because sometimes I'm not plus. I'm kind of in the middle there, so sometimes these costumes are not made for my body type. So I try to change it up so I'm comfortable.
So, who of the costumes that you've done personally, who would you say is your favorite to cosplay?
I'm more like, well, like I said, Naruto was one of my favorites because I got so many good feedbacks from Hinata. But my personal favorites are definitely more mythological creatures, not necessarily found in TV shows or anything. It can be like an elf or something. I like more like demons and stuff like angels, but I go from one end of the spectrum to the other. Like it sometimes completely just the opposite from one day to the other. I love that. That's probably my favorite part of it is just one day you can do one thing and the next day you're completely different. You can be in the 1950s or you just switch it up from one day to another, whatever mood you're in. But my favorites would definitely have to be mythological creatures.
Do you have any costume goals, like for future cosplays, that you just haven't been able to get the accessories that you need for it?
Yeah, absolutely. I'd say the list is endless, and I probably add some every day. And I try to ask my fans what they want to see. The whole point for me is to kind of realize fantasies. So like if you have a thing from for Khaleesi from Game of Thrones, well then I'll try to do something like that. But like I said, it takes time and money. So the list is very long. I'd say very long.
What would you say to people who say that you're just making porn? What would you say is the biggest difference between erotic cosplay and just straight pornography?
I mean, I guess I don't really try to argue the differences because there's a lot of different opinions with people who do content and sex work. So I'm not a porn star. It's totally amateur. I do it, from my home, and I pick the costumes. I pick the angles. It's not. So I'm still learning every day. But I guess it can be more personalized. That would be the big difference. But like I said, it's not really different because necessarily it's still the same thing. But yeah, you can get it more personalized, and you can have more like a conversation with me and ask me what I want, what you want from me, stuff like that. But like I said, I don't really try to argue the differences. Some people think it's even prostitution. So if you want to say porn star, go for it, whatever you want.
Yeah, I imagine sometimes it's easier just to blow it off than fight the problem or fight the fight.
Well, I mean, I was really reluctant to do it because I'm a mom, and the constant question is, what if your kid finds that one day or whatnot? And the thing is I always took pictures that were really, risque, and I've always been a little controversial. Even I'm an artist, I like to paint and draw, and it's usually always something sexual, like half the time, if not more. So I'm kind of used to it, and from one day to the other, I thought, why not? It's something I like doing, and it's the most fun I've had. To be honest, it's like a really fun job where I can express my art and I get to please people, and people are really really nice, and you get compliments all day. So yeah, I'm not complaining.
Have you thought about joining up with like the professional groups, like the cosplay deviants or one of those maybe?
You know what? It's something that's different, right? Uh, I have a hard time accessing for I'm kind of stuck at home with my kid who doesn't have a daycare and he's a little one. So in the future, definitely something I'm interested in. Right now, I'm kind of limited. So, like I said, in the future, I'd be interested.
If somebody were thinking about starting doing this, like they've done the cosplay, but they want to take it a little bit further, like you
Yeah,
did,
yeah.
what do you have any advice that you would suggest for them?
Oh my God. Do anything you're comfortable with. That's the fun part about what we can do nowadays is that we can do whatever we're comfortable with, but nothing off limit. Just, how would I say? You're the one who gets to decide what content you put out there. So if you're not comfortable with a certain part of your body, then you never have to show that part of your body. That's the great part. And but if I had any word of advice, I'd say try to see what people like and what you like and what you're comfortable in. Sometimes making content isn't easy with a wig. You can lose your wig or something like that. It's not really sexy. So it's great. You can edit stuff. Just be aware, that these things happen, and just go with it. Laugh at yourself and have fun.
This is good advice. When you make your content, I imagine you have content on like OnlyFans, yeah?
Yeah. I'm recently on. This is about my third month. Maybe a little more, or 3.5 months.
So do you typically just do like solo content, or do you have like any partner content or any plans for partner content?
Actually, I have all kinds. Recently, what I was doing was I was doing semi-nude and was only selling video through messaging. But now what I'm doing, I'm full nude and I'm making videos on my page. So yeah, but there is couples content right now. Like I said, like just recently in the last 2 weeks that I started posting. So there's a couple solos on there, but like this week, so I'm adding more stuff, couples, and I actually do MMF content too because I'm actually married and I have a boyfriend. So when I can get them together, well, then we try to post some content there too.
Oh, so also poly. Interesting.
Yeah.
All right. Well, with the way the world is becoming more accepting of kink and kink lifestyles, I imagine that having a kid and being in any kind of adult lifestyle is a bit complicated. Yeah.
Oh, definitely. I mean, for me, the hardest part is separating the two. I'm really limited with like babysitters, and he doesn't go to school yet, and there's no daycares where I live, so I'm with him 24 hours a day, 7 days, which makes it really hard to make content. And he's not a big sleeper, so stuff like that. I try. Luckily, my in-laws are close. I have some friends that'll watch him once in a while for a couple hours, but it's really hard to make content and be as productive as I want to be. That would probably be the most difficult part. But like he doesn't see anything of that, and I don't think he would think differently of me. My mom personally was an exotic dancer, so like I don't think of her differently. She was a wonderful mom, and so I think we're just very open, and like you said, nowadays it's kind of like the hippie mindset of do what you want as long as it makes you happy.
So, are there other kinks and fetishes that you're into besides just the cosplay stuff?
Yeah, I mean, there's all kinds of stuff. Maybe a few things that are controversial as well. I'm not sure if, well, you're probably familiar with daddy kink, which is a lot of aftercare and stuff like that. There's also, any type of bondism. I like shibari, which is Japanese bondism. It's very difficult to do, though. What else? There's CNC, which is a big one for controversial. It's consensual non-consent. So basically, it's like rape simulation, which can be very, very triggering for some people. I can understand, but it is a fantasy that is healthy. I've read up a lot about it. It's also very common.
Yeah, I've heard people talk about it, and the conversation is always like a powder keg. You would never know just who's going to jump in and be like, "That's horrible, that's disgusting," blah 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 blah. It's like whatever.
Yeah, well, it's totally consensual. It's basically we're back to domination. It's not, nothing's actually forced. It just seems forced. And I mean, there's all kinds of porn where we've seen this before, and they'll interview the girl before they do it and after. It's acting. It's all. It's just a fun role play. And I said, back to domination and submissiveness, really.
And are there any of the like kinks that you've heard of that are hard nosed for you?
For me, I do have a couple. Any bodily fluids, well, like, I mean, swallowing is okay, but I'm not a big waterboarding person. But I mean, like, honestly, I would try it at least once. I can't really say I hate it because I haven't tried it. Anything too painful is a little bit of a no for me. Too much pain spoils the pleasure. But I'm pretty open. Like, anyone who's open or has something that they're maybe ashamed of, I'm pretty open about everything. I've gotten messages about people asking all kinds of things. If it's a no, it's a no, and we part ways. And if it's your thing, I won't judge you. But we all have our little limits. But I'm pretty open. Not a lot of limits.
Well, it's good to keep an open mind in this kind of thing, because even if it doesn't seem like it'd be your thing to start, you never know what could turn out to be that exciting thrill that you were missing.
Exactly. We can be really surprised. I mean, I didn't ever plan on having a husband and a boyfriend, but here we are.
Is there anything that I didn't ask about or that didn't get brought up that you would like to?
Anything I could mention? It's for anyone who wants to try for advice. Again, I'd mention that if you're trying to please your lover, husband, your girlfriend, or try to see what fictional character they like from show or a movie or something, and try to go with that. Simplify it. Don't have to go full out on the budget there, but just try it. I think it's something. If you like role play, or maybe you haven't really you've thought about it, but you haven't done anything, it can be a good way to get out of your comfort zone, because you're not yourself. You're playing a character, so sometimes it can be easier to let it go a bit. And if there was one more thing I wanted to mention, well, the golden rule of cosplay, which is cosplay is not consent. We're talking about cosplay, but in general, it's not something that is sexual. And a lot of girls who participate in cosplay feel like they're over-sexualized. So just keep that in mind.
Good advice.
Thank you.
Okay, so would you mind if I shared the link to your OnlyFans
Absolutely.
in the notes of the show?
Absolutely.
Okay, I'll get that information from you in a little bit. And do you have anything else, like a Twitter, Tumblr, Reddit?
I'm mostly on Instagram and OnlyFans, but I have just about everything. It's TikTok, Twitter. It's all the same username.
Okay, then I will make sure to add those links for you.
Perfect.
It was fun talking to you.
Thank you. I hope you got what you needed.
Oh yeah. I mean, it was a short conversation, but I think pretty much everything was covered.
Yeah, it's a pretty straightforward concept. It's not very complicated.
But you never know. There could be somebody out there that's starting to get into it and just like, I wonder if anybody else is into this like I am. And
it's really cool because I never did this, and I can add that to my list of things I've done.
Well, it was fun having you on. If anybody has any more questions for our guest, feel free to contact me and I'll get them to her. If you want to have any suggestions for future shows, go ahead and shoot us a message. You can find us on Twitter, Facebook, just straight email, ludiversepodcast@gmail.com. Everything will be in the show notes. I have to thank our financial supporter, Zachary Hale, and we will talk to everybody another day. And until then, keep each other safe, keep communicating, and just remember to have fun. All right. Bye.
Thank you for listening to Ludiverse. If you have any questions or comments, contact us on Twitter or Facebook. Just search for the Ludiverse. Remember to rate and review wherever you listen. If you want to help support the show, please consider donating to our Patreon.